Mike's story is one of those tales that starts in the most unexpected of places. It's a journey, both physical and emotional, that takes us from the sunny streets of Miami to the icy expanse of Greenland. But before we delve into the heart of his adventure, let's set the stage with the headlines that changed everything. The headlines were everywhere. Trump wants to buy Greenland. Some laughed, some shrugged, but for Mike it was the spark he'd been waiting for. Greenland, the largest island in the world, a frozen wilderness where daylight can stretch for months or disappear entirely. Fewer than 60,000 people live there, scattered across icy towns and barren landscapes. It's a land of stark beauty and unforgiving cold. But for one man, Greenland wasn't just a frozen wasteland. It was supposed to be a new beginning, a place to carve out his future in a land untouched by modern chaos. But what he found was something older, something colder, something that doesn't just hunt, it waits. Our protagonist, Mike, wasn't exactly what you'd call successful. Miami hadn't been kind to him. Bills piled up, dreams faded away, but then he saw the news. Trump buys Greenland. It was a joke to most people, a meme on Twitter. But Mike saw opportunity. In his mind, Greenland was the new frontier, untouched, wild, a place where a man could start over. He bought a one-way ticket to Nuuk, Greenland's capital city. From his tiny airplane window, he stared out at endless white plains, frozen mountains and seas glazed over with ice. It looked peaceful, but peace, as he would soon find out, can also mean isolation. Mike didn't stop in Nuuk. No, Nuuk was too civilized for his grand plans. With the little money he had left, he bought a second-hand snowmobile, a survival tent, and enough food to last him 2 weeks. His goal? To trek deep into the icy heart of Greenland and become something more. At first, everything went according to plan. Mike sped across vast frozen lakes and past mountains sharp as knives. The cold air stung his face, but it felt liberating. Alone, surrounded by nothing but white silence, he felt like a pioneer, a conqueror. But the wilderness doesn't care about pride or hope or the American dream. "50 miles from the nearest town, in the middle of nothingness, Mike's snowmobile choked, sputtered and died. A mechanical failure, maybe ice in the fuel line, maybe just bad luck. Either way, he was stranded. The sun was slipping below the horizon, casting everything in a pale blue glow. The temperature dropped. Mike set up his survival tent, but even inside, the cold crept in, silent, patient, lethal. Hypothermia doesn't hit all at once. It starts as shivering, then your fingers stop working, then confusion sets in. Mike started walking, hoping to find something, anything, but the snow stretched endlessly in every direction, like a frozen ocean. At first, Mike thought he was hearing things, the wind playing tricks on his frozen mind, but no. These were footsteps, heavy, purposeful. They circled him faster and faster. Mike's breath came in shallow gasps. He closed his eyes, unable to see in the pitch-black night. When he finally opened his eyes, he saw it, a creature towering over him, 20 feet tall if it was an inch. Its body was impossibly thin, skin stretched tight over bones that jutted out like spears. Its eyes bulged from deep sockets, black and unblinking. Its mouth hung open, rimmed with frost, teeth like splinters of ice. Its arms, they dragged on the snow, skeletal fingers twitching as if tasting the air. The creature didn't move to attack. It didn't pounce. It just stared, examining him, waiting. Because this thing, it doesn't eat warm flesh. It waits for its prey to freeze, to become perfectly still, perfectly cold. Only then does it feast. But Mike, he didn't freeze all the way. Just as the last flicker of warmth left his body, darkness overtook him. When Mike opened his eyes, he was no longer on the ice. He was lying in a warm bed wrapped in fur blankets. A Greenlandic native stood over him, eyes kind but serious. "You're lucky, American. Very lucky. You saw it, didn't you? We call it the creature. It doesn't hunt us, it hunts you, foreigners. It waits and it watches. It can go centuries without a meal. But when it finds one, it never lets go." Mike was told to stay put, to not leave the village for at least a year, to let the land accept him. Because out there, in the endless white, the creature still waits, patient, hungry, and the next time Mike might not be so lucky. If you ever find yourself in Greenland, wandering too far from civilization, remember this: the cold isn't the only thing waiting for you out there. Something older, something hungrier, and it's watching, always watching. After hearing the chilling story of our protagonist, Mike, and his harrowing encounter in the frozen wilderness of Greenland, you might be thinking, could I do better? Could I survive where Mike almost didn't? But before you pack your bags, buy a second-hand snowmobile and set off into the icy unknown. There are some critical health risks you need to understand. Greenland isn't just about beautiful landscapes and untouched wilderness. It's also one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. If you want a better shot at survival, here are the top 5 health concerns you'll face in Greenland, explained in detail to prepare you for the reality of life in this frozen frontier. 1. Hypothermia and frostbite. These two are the most immediate and obvious threats when stepping into Greenland's extreme cold. Temperatures can plummet well below -30 degrees Celsius, -22 degrees Fahrenheit during the winter, and even brief exposure without proper gear can lead to life-threatening conditions. Hypothermia begins with shivering, then progresses to slurred speech, confusion, and eventually unconsciousness as your body temperature drops. Frostbite, on the other hand, targets your extremities, fingers, toes, ears, and nose, turning skin pale, then black as tissue dies from lack of blood flow. Once frostbite sets in, amputation can become necessary. Surviving the cold isn't just about wearing thick jackets. It's about layering effectively, staying dry, and avoiding sweating, which can quickly freeze and worsen your condition. Always carry an emergency heat source and know when to turn back if the weather becomes too hostile. 2. Mental health challenges. Isolation and seasonal affective disorder, SAD. The physical cold might be your first enemy, but Greenland's psychological isolation is a silent predator. The country's population is sparse, towns are miles apart, and the long polar nights where the sun doesn't rise for weeks can take a heavy toll on your mental health. Seasonal affective disorder, SAD, is a common issue caused by a lack of sunlight, leading to symptoms such as fatigue, depression, and a general sense of hopelessness. The isolation can amplify feelings of loneliness and anxiety, making even the most resilient individuals question their sanity. For newcomers, this can be one of the most underestimated dangers. Combating these mental health challenges requires planning, using light therapy lamps to simulate sunlight, sticking to a consistent routine, staying socially connected, even virtually, and most importantly, recognizing when professional help is needed. 3. Nutritional deficiencies. In a land where farming is nearly impossible due to permafrost and freezing temperatures, fresh fruits and vegetables are rare and expensive luxuries. The traditional Greenlandic diet is heavily reliant on seafood, seal meat and preserved foods, which are rich in protein and omega-3 fatty acids, but often lack essential vitamins like vitamin C, vitamin D, and iron. These deficiencies can lead to weakened immunity, brittle bones, and chronic fatigue, issues that can become life-threatening in such a harsh environment. If you're planning to stay long-term, you'll need to carefully plan your diet, supplement appropriately, and embrace local traditional foods, such as fish liver, which can be a vital source of nutrients. Nutrition in Greenland isn't about eating well, it's about eating smart. 4. Infectious diseases, waterborne and respiratory illnesses. Clean drinking water isn't always guaranteed in remote areas of Greenland. Snowmelt might look pure, but it can carry harmful bacteria and parasites. Waterborne illnesses can cause severe dehydration and digestive issues, which can become deadly when paired with the physical strain of surviving in freezing conditions. On top of that, respiratory illnesses like tuberculosis and influenza are significant concerns, especially in crowded indoor spaces during the long winters. The remoteness of Greenland also means that healthcare facilities are few and far between, and reaching help during a health crisis can be difficult and delayed by weather conditions. Boiling water, maintaining personal hygiene, and staying up to date with vaccinations are essential practices for anyone planning to live in Greenland's remote regions. 5. Injuries and limited medical access. Injuries that might be minor in a city, like a twisted ankle, a deep cut, or a dislocated shoulder, can become life-threatening in Greenland. Slips on ice, snowmobile accidents, or simple frostbite-related injuries can escalate without immediate medical intervention. However, Greenland's healthcare system is stretched thin across its vast landscape. Remote towns often have only small clinics with limited supplies and no advanced medical equipment. Emergency evacuations by helicopter are not always possible due to weather conditions, and even when they are, they come at a high financial cost. This means that self-reliance is not just a skill, but a necessity. Every traveller should carry a well-stocked first aid kit, know basic first aid procedures, and ensure someone knows their route and expected return time before venturing far from civilization. In conclusion, Greenland is breathtaking, mysterious, and filled with a sense of adventure that few places on Earth can offer. But it's not a place for the unprepared. If you plan to follow in Dan's footsteps, or rather blaze a better trail, understanding these health risks is the first step in your survival journey. Respect the cold, protect your body and mind, and plan every move with caution. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Stay warm, stay safe, and stay smart. Disclaimer. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical, survival, or travel advice. Always consult qualified experts before traveling to extreme environments like Greenland. Survival in such conditions requires professional preparation, training, and equipment. The creators of this content are not responsible for any actions taken based on the information provided. This story is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to real events or individuals is purely coincidental.